Hello and welcome to the Capital Games Podcast. I am the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Zero. How you feeling, my man?
I'm pretty good. Just, it's unfortunately been a little bit of a slow news week, but
Yeah.
I think it's probably due to the fact that just Gamescom is very soon, and then I think the Tokyo Games Show is very soon as well, too. So I would say it's probably like the calm before the storm.
Right. And there is a bit of a news dump, I'd say a few days before Gamescom, so we should expect some new stuff out there. I don't think we're going to cover Gamescom like we did the Not E3 week, but because I don't think much interesting new stuff is going to come out. I think we'll hear more updates on certain games. But if something does happen, we'll let you know. I think Keighley is doing his opening night live for Gamescom, so there may be something there, but we'll see.
Yeah. And Gamescom is typically real Eurocentric, so I would agree that it's probably just going to be more updates, especially for things that are worldwide releases. It'll probably be something like, hey, we've got a new build on this game, we're going to show it off to you, and that's probably about it.
Right. Well, Zero, if there's something I've known about you all these years, is that basically you're all about the pussy. Cats. Cats.
Yes.
And
I am a very, very big cat person.
Yes, absolutely. And like all sickos who are into cats, well, not into, I mean, you prefer cats to dogs, which, that's cool, I guess. But, dogs are objectively better, but I will forgive you for this. You were excited by the announcement and now the subsequent release of Stray, which came out on PS5 and PC this past week. You bought it, and I believe you bought it on PC and beat it on your Steam Deck, I'm going to guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought it mostly because I just wanted a sort of major release title to kind of mess around on my Steam Deck, especially since I had just gotten it in just recently. So I wanted to kind of have something to put the Steam Deck to its limit and everything. And for anyone who has not yet received their Steam Deck, I'm going to give you a pro tip right now. Do yourself a favor, and in the power menu, there is a power management option for enabling the old fan profile. If you're going to be playing AAA and some of the minor level releases like from Annapurna and things like that, turn off the new fan profile, because the new fan profile, it makes the Steam Deck quieter, but at the cost of the console heating up. And I got to find this out the hard way in Stray, because once the system hit the thermal throttling limit, I went from 60 frames per second to a just absolutely show-stopping 15 frames per second from the thermal throttling. So,
wow.
Yeah, just if you're going to play something like Stray or anything just real big label on the Steam Deck, make sure to turn off the new fan profile and just go with the old one. Yeah, it's going to be a little noisy, but your console's not going to thermal throttle.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Okay, well, that's good to know. From what I know, Stray is a short game. I'm guessing it's more like a puzzle-solving environmental game. Am I right on that?
It's kind of like a walking simulator with some puzzle solving.
Okay.
So, if you're fans of games games kind of like the Stanley Parable and things like that, then Stray might be up your alley. But I guess I'll borrow something from the movie podcast, and that's spoiler time. So, let's just give the viewers a warning here.
Okay.
Over 5 seconds.
Okay, sure. So, 5 seconds, we're going to talk about spoilers to Stray. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead.
So, while I like Stray, unfortunately, the cat is merely a vehicle for one of the characters you meet later.
Okay.
And it's a little unfortunate because the cat is very adorable. and the fact that they put so much work and so much effort into doing really accurate motion capture for the main cat character, it's it's just so amazing. But at the same time, it was just kind of it was just kind of one of those things when you sort of realize, wow, just the cat is merely just the vehicle for B12, the main character of Stray,
Okay.
to sort of work their way to reaching the outside world and everything.
Well, that's not new, really, in game, especially walking simulators. One of
Yeah.
my all-time favorite games is Gone Home, and technically, the character you're playing as is not the main character at all in the story. So, yeah, I mean that's. But did that disappoint you when you found that out, or it did just not work in a way?
For me, it was just kind of a little sad because it was
Okay.
just like, just in the beginning, you hang out with your other cat companions, and then you kind of go through the intro and where they teach you all the movement mechanics and the rules behind the movement mechanics, and you're wandering with your cat pals, and then just you end up getting separated from them and everything. So it's just one of those things that it was just like, oh God, just I love the little cat, but at the same time, it was just kind of a shame that the cat's not the main character and everything. So that was kind of something that was a little sad for me to see, but just it wasn't completely end of the world. I will not really go into the ending and everything because my girlfriend has yet to play the game, so I don't want to completely ruin that or whatever.
Right.
But at the same, another thing that I had heard some criticism online was just while you do play the main cat, it would have been nice to have like an option to sort of create your own cat and everything. And apparently, there's like an insane modding scene for that. And one guy has been doing a mod service that he will basically design and build your cat at a fee, and then give you the file to inject your cat into Stray.
It is a little weird that if the character, the cat itself, isn't real. It sounds like the cat isn't really a character in the game. He's more of a MacGuffin, which is basically the key to everything working in the game. So if
Yeah.
that's the case, I would. I don't know. Like, I think you're right on that. They should have at least made it so you can change the color of the cat or anything. But I'm wondering if there was. Well, if the modders are doing it with no problem, I guess there shouldn't be a problem with it. But I'm wondering if, in the middle of production, when they made that choice, maybe there was an issue with doing that, or they just thought that the cat and its color that they made clashed well with the environment. Maybe that's the issue. 'Cause if you have an all black cat, and let's say you are in a shadowy area, that might interfere with knowing where your cat is at some point when you're in a shadowy area.
Yeah, and that's a fair concern too. So yeah, that's something that I would definitely concede to as well too.
Okay.
Though I know for me, it just kind of got me thinking. I was just like, it would have been kind of nice to have my 3-year-old cat being transposed into the game and everything, but at the
Right.
same time, I was just like, now that I think of it, in some of these shadowy areas, I'm just like, I don't think I'd be able to see him, and I'd probably end up going, where the fuck did my cat go?
Yeah. I mean, but I do get your point though. If the cat and its color and just the way it looks really doesn't matter in the context of the game itself, then they should allow you to at least customize it so you can get attached to the cat and to your character as much as possible. That's how Skyrim kind of works in a way. Even though you don't hear your character talk, you don't even see your character anymore after you build it. But because you built it, you have an attachment to it. And it might be a tenuous attachment, but it's an attachment nonetheless. So that would just make sense in that point. But I don't. Yeah, I can't understand why they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but I would say overall, if you're into walking simulators, then Stray might be worth your $30 if you're
Oh,
someone who would rather play it on PC. It is free on PlayStation Plus if you are on the extra or premium tier. So that's something to take in mind. So if you're one of those who really isn't into walking simulators, either find a friend who has a PS5 and is willing to let you log in and sit down for about 5 or 6 hours and play Stray on their PS5, or hope that you have a friend who might have it on PC, on Steam, and may be willing to let you log in to their profile and family library share the game over.
see, okay. As much as I absolutely adore Gone Home, I only paid $10 for it, and I thought that was perfect for when I bought it, and it was 20, and I thought 20 was too much. 30 for Stray, which is gonna be what you said, a 4 to 6 hour game that is with some puzzle solving, but there's really no replay value afterwards. Man, that's a tough ask for $30.
Yeah, and that's something I forgot to mention.
Okay.
There are some combat sequences in the game. They feel very stilted, and they sort of muck with the rhythm of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get why they're in the game and everything. They're supposed to be the moments of tension and everything, but at the same time, just, I guess for lack of a better way of putting it, it just doesn't feel right. If you get what I mean.
I think I do. Is it just because you're doing more puzzle solving in the game? It just feels out of place?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
most of the game is literally just puzzle solving, talking with some of the residents of the slums and stuff like that. So it's more just you're trying to put the pieces to the puzzle and find out how to get to the end of the game and everything. But yeah, just there are a few moments where they have you running away from the big bad, which are basically these mechanical robots that basically eat everything, including metal. So yeah, you have some moments where you have to run away with them before a certain pivotal sequence happens. Then once a pivotal sequence happens, you have the ability to fight back, but even the way to fight back is also very stilted as well too, because there's a cooldown meter and you have to meter your attack and know when to back off and run to a safe place and distract the enemies and stuff like that. It's just as much as I like the game, I just felt that the combat portions just felt a little bit stilted.
Okay. I mean, they probably put it in there for, I guess, variety's sake. But I guess if the game is that short, maybe it wasn't really necessary. But do you find that the pacing is well done, or does it drag in certain spots?
The pacing is pretty good in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think it flows pretty well for the most part. If you're not good at spatial memory, then Stray can maybe be a little bit of a challenge because there's no map screen, so you pretty much have to sort of build a map in your mind of where everything is.
Okay.
So if you're someone who has trouble keeping track of where NPC A is and NPC B is, item 1, item 2, and item 3 that you need for this like chain of trading items around to different characters, then Stray might take you a little bit longer. But if your spatial memory's pretty good, then yeah, you may be able to burn through Stray within 4 hours easily.
Okay. So, all right. It's $30, 4 to 6 hours. Did you find the price worth it for what you paid for?
As much as I have my issues with the cat not being the main character, but more of a MacGuffin to advance the story along, yeah, I mean, I still don't regret my purchase at $30.
Okay, good.
Even though I did also have it on PS5 from being on PlayStation Plus Premium, so yeah, I have no regrets for paying the $30.
Good. Okay. So you recommend it. It's $30 on Steam and on PS5, or if you have PlayStation Plus Extra or PlayStation Plus Premium.
Yeah.
Okay, it's free there. So, yeah, Zero says check it out if you're interested. So there we go.
Your thoughts on Multiversus, since I know you put in much more time than I have.
Oh, Zero! My God, you're getting in charge here. I like this. All right. Okay, so I got into the Multiversus beta before it was released, and I decided to wait on talking about it until it was officially released last week. I gotta say, I am pleasantly surprised by how solid the game is for a free to play game, especially. The only other free to play game like this is Brawlhalla, and as okay as Brawlhalla is, the combat is not very deep. From what I played of it, from what I remember from like years ago, and it also because of it, it felt like more like a fun party game kind of game where you just have fun with people instead of being really serious and trying to get the best combos and stuff like that. So I was kind of expecting that when I walked into playing Multiversus, and I've played it for I would say about 5 to 6 hours, and I gotta say I'm just surprised by how solid the fighting aspect of it is. I mean, it is a Smash like. It's basically a platform fighter, but the main draw of it is it's 2v2. There are 1v1s, and I honestly prefer the 1v1s, but I think the main mode there want people to play is 2v2. So, because there's a lot of characters that will do things to modify your teammates' attacks. For example, Iron Giant, when he gets a special up, he turns into I guess his gun form, where the teammate can jump on top of him and I guess shoot your opponents while you're shooting as well and kicking opponents. I think also Superman modifies certain attacks with his ice breath, so there's a lot of interactivity there. So in that aspect, it's actually pretty interesting to see all these different types of moves being used in creative ways. When you get to the fighting, I only really played as 2 fighters, which is the Iron Giant and Harley Quinn. I got into Harley Quinn in the alpha, and actually found her really satisfying to play, so I stuck with her. And yeah, like the combat's really snappy. Like with Smash, I like Smash, but there's a difference with Smash than this. Smash seems a little more deliberate, a little more slow, where it's maybe a little more plotting, where I don't know how to really explain it because I'm not a deep Smash player. I played the single player a lot, but it's not as snappy and as fast and as quick as I think Multiversus is. I found the combat in Multiversus to be really satisfying. Like with Smash, unless I was playing with my nephew, I think after 30 minutes I was okay. It was done. I played this for in hour clips usually, and still wanted to play more. Yeah, like the actual fighting game, the game itself, the way you play it, is actually really satisfying, and it's fun. Like I actually enjoyed that aspect very much.
Yeah. Overall, just it seems like it is just a hot game right now, especially with a lot of the fighting game streamers just playing around on it. I know Maximilian has been griping about people stacking up as duo teams of 2 Iron Giants and just that being a mess of its own.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they have different types of classes in the game. So, like for example, Iron Giant is a tank. So you have to do much more damage to him to launch him than with, let's say, Harley Quinn, who is an assassin. So if you get a good hit on her when she's above 100, she's pretty much toast at that point. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like, it's interesting enough. They do different things to make it compelling. And for what it kind of sounds like, I think Smash is kind of done now. I mean, at least Sakurai's done with Smash. Who knows if they're going to continue it after Sakurai's done. But, yeah, like, I can see Multiversus, if they do this right, especially in this multi-platform, I could see Multiversus being not only a big seller for WB Games, I could see it being what Smash is maybe in a few years if they do this right.
Yeah, and I think really a lot of that's going to depend on the money investment on the microtransaction side, and also the time investment for those who decide to go completely free to play.
Yeah. I guess now is a good time to go over the microtransactions. There were 3 packs that you could purchase as a Founders Pack. I think one was 20, one was 40, and the other one was 100, if I'm correct. I may not be, but I chose the middle one, where you got, I think it was like 15, 20 character tokens, a certain amount of Gleamium, which is the primary, which is the premium currency, and I think a skin of some sort. I'm not entirely sure, but I got that. Go ahead.
Breakdown is 40, 60, and 100.
Oh, wow. 40, 60. Oh, wow. Okay. I was way off.
So,
I got the 40.
Okay.
I got the 41. Why did I think it was... Okay.
So 15 tokens, 1 exclusive banner, and then 300 in Gleamium.
Yes.
Apparently the standard edition.
Yep, that's what I got. And wow, I thought there was one that was cheaper than that, but I guess I'm wrong. Okay. Okay. Hearing that, I think the prices for the Founders Pack is a little ridiculous, to be completely honest with you. $40. God. Oh, wow. I'm just thinking of what I was thinking. Like, maybe Xbox has a smaller one that I'm not aware of. Maybe, okay. I mean, odds are I'm wrong. Fine. 40, 60, and 100. I would think they would want to have a $20 one with something. Like, maybe even just with 5 tokens, that would probably work. But, man, that's bad. Okay. But anyway, I got the $40 one. I know that for a fact. And what they gave you is okay. I mean, I didn't use all my tokens to unlock all characters because I honestly was not that interested in all the characters. I think that's something that's something that Smash Brothers does really well that I think Multiversus not necessarily does very good. I mean, Smash has a smattering of different IPs, properties, and characters, all from different games that have different moods and different feels. Like, you have Solid Snake in Smash, and Cloud Strife in Smash, and yet they fit pretty well in Smash the way it is. That's my kind of issue right now with Multiversus, is that all the characters just seem like a mishmash that don't have a cohesive whole to it. Like, for example, Arya Stark from Game of Thrones is in this game, with Shaggy, Batman, and Scooby-Doo. I know you haven't watched Game of Thrones, right, Zero?
I watched a couple of the episodes of the first season and then just sort of dropped it.
Okay. So, it's kind of weird to see a character from a show that basically is about copious amount of blood, sex, incest, rape, and all sorts of other nasty things in the show. In a game where it looks like they're kind of catering to a younger audience. So I saw that, I was like, that's fucking weird. So
yeah, that is a bit of a juxtaposition now that you mention it.
Yeah. At least with, let's say, Solid Snake, there's a silliness to him too. So even though technically Metal Gear Solid is a quote-unquote serious game, you can kind of see him in Smash because he's kind of a silly character in itself. The characters themselves altogether don't fit, like, as a cohesive whole, I think. As to the pricing to the characters that you purchase, they're a bit pricey. I think I wish I had everything up. I mean, do you have everything up for the pricing?
Yeah, I'm on the Steam page, and the Xbox and PlayStation listings are exactly the same as the Steam listing. So the next package up is the Deluxe Edition, priced at $60. So 20 character unlocking tokens, 1 exclusive banner that's classified as a rare, 1 premium battle pass, 1 banner that's rated at an epic, and then 1 ring out effect that's rated at an epic, and then 1,000 Gleamium, and I'm assuming 1,000 is roughly about the equivalent of $10.
Okay. $10 for a single character is pretty damn pricey. And
well, I was gonna say, I don't know what the going rate for the unlock tokens are.
see that's what I'm curious about, because I'm not on the game right now. You know what? I'll get on the game right now, actually. I'll go on to Steam. While I'm waiting for this to load, let me talk a little more about what else is there to really talk about with this, with monetization. They have a system called toasting that I found really strange. Apparently, to say good job to somebody is a token that you have to purchase with gold. Gold is the non-premium currency that you earn, but if you want to, let's say, hey man, good job, you have to use what's called toast in order to say good job. And by doing that, you give them extra gold. However, it costs you more gold to get the item than what you're currently giving. So even if you are, like, in a generous mood and you want to, let's say, toast somebody for, hey, good job being my partner in there, it's going to cost you more money to do that than what you would actually be given. So I think that is weird. And most will probably say, well, then don't do it. The problem is, in this game, they have missions that essentially require you, in order to move on, to do that. So if you don't do it, you don't move on with your missions. So
yeah, and for me, the concept of paying for a commendation is very strange, especially considering that commendations are just sort of a free thing that you can do in Overwatch. So the concept of having to pay to get a stack of commendations to give out, that's just so very strange to me. There's a blog post by a gaming blog that says to get every single character you would need, and this is counting if you don't buy any of the premium packs or anything. So like if you're just bare bones starting just with nothing, just the free download, and then the base unlocks and everything, to purchase every other character to fill out your roster would be 7,700 Gleamium, so about almost $70, or about 56 British pounds.
I mean, that's not as bad as some games, but
yeah, and I think the time investment to unlock the characters for free is a little bit stiff too, because I think I was reading some criticism on it where some folks were saying that it costs, as far as time goes, it will cost you about 40 to 50 matches to be played in Multiversus to unlock one character. Granted, each match is on average about 3 minutes, but when you do the math, it's almost 2 hours per character. And I don't know how many total characters there are in the game right now, so I haven't done that part of the math, but I assume that's still a pretty hefty time investment.
Yeah. I will say, it seems a little steep, and I understand why that's steep. Like that's kind of, you know. But I have seen like fighting games, honestly, for a character has been what, $6 to $8 depending on the game.
$6 to $8 per character in the case of stuff like the Arc System Works games, and things like that. And then typically with the major label fighting games, there is some sort of character unlocking pass. So it isn't like a convoluted mess to unlock all the characters. And to be honest, I'm a little baffled why there isn't an option for that for Multiversus. Like, for me, Multiversus was a game I was considering buying for, like, LAN party fodder when friends come over to just kind of get set up and play and everything. And when I saw the open beta finally open up and allow just sort of everyone to kind of jump into the game, that was the one thing I was trying to search to see if, like, there was some sort of package that you could buy that was just unlock all the characters up to current right now. And I was just like, okay, well, that's a bit strange. There's no option to unlock all the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's a shame. Is there any particular way to do it? And it just seems like either you buy the premium edition for $100 with all the extraneous stuff, and then $10 of premium, or excuse me, $20 of premium currency as well too, or you get the mid-level package and just kind of put some time in for the couple characters that you don't have access to, I guess. I don't know how many total characters are on the roster, so I don't know how much the initial tokens will cover or anything, so that's not something I can definitively comment on.
Games like what High Risk Studios makes, like what are the, like, Smite, Paladins, they have those passes where if you pay, let's say, $40 up front, I think it was $30 or $40 for Smite, like, you get all the characters that are available and the new characters because you're invested in the game, which would have made a lot of sense, I think. Brawlhalla does that too. Brawlhalla, I think I paid $30 and I just get all the characters. I probably will never play the game again, but if I do, all the characters that have been released, they're available to me, which I think is great. But I think something tells me that even though WB owns all these properties, I'm going to guess to get most of the likenesses, they had to pay extra for, let's say, a Game of Thrones character or LeBron James. So in order to use those characters, they I guess they're just more expensive to that point. So I'm guessing, yeah, I guess that's why. But yeah, that kind of sucks when it comes to monetization.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the game's... There's no doubt about it. The game is pricey, but it's... Not that I want to defend it, but it's not as bad as, let's say, Diablo Immortal. Like, I'm not looking at it and going, oh my god, this is a complete money sink, and it's also predatory to a point where, you know, I just don't even want to put the time in, because if I do, then I'm probably going to have to put more money in to just enjoy the game. I mean, you can, with fighting games, you can choose one character and just play as that character and have a blast and just fight that way. So that is the option to you if you want it. Overall, so we can move on, I like Multiversus a lot. I think that the actual fighting, again, is solid. I wonder, when it comes to the new characters that are coming out, how different they're going to be. Because I know Rick and Morty is coming out soon. I think it's next week. I'll be interested to see what they do with those two. But, like, how different are they going to be? I think is going to be the key question. Because if they just all end up being Smash likes, or they go to a certain set, because there's different classes, but if all the class characters from that class all feel the same, it's not going to be as satisfying to play them and to purchase each character. So that's my question for like the future of Multiversus. I'd say give it a shot if you are interested in a platform fighting. I think it's really good, but yeah, you don't have to buy all the characters. You just choose one that you want and stick with it. But even if you're like me and you want to be a completionist, yeah, I don't see as to why right now you would want to do that. So, yeah, we'll see, is what I feel with Multiversus. So let's move on to the news. Light news week, as you mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, but there are some interesting topics to go over. The first to go over, it was talked about on, was it Reddit that started this?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Reddit had caught somebody who posted about this on Twitter.
Okay.
They had posted some screen grabs of this, and essentially just Blizzard has been picking random players to send out a survey about some of the monetization for Overwatch 2.
Yeah.
And one of the screen grabs that this person on Twitter had captured was a question regarding the premium mythic grade skins.
Right.
So rarest of the rare, just the absolute cream of the crop skin, probably just looks super shiny and whatever. And in this particular screen grab of the survey question, the question was, would you be willing to pay $45 for this skin?
Yeah.
And I know my first reaction was like, Lord, no!
Yeah. Right. But let's also be fair, okay? Yes, but we're also not deep into Overwatch. We're not. And my initial reaction, of course, was the same as you. It's like, fuck no, I wouldn't pay $45 for a skin. That's crazy. Yeah. But if you are playing Overwatch all the time, and you want to bling yourself out and you want to look superior to others by having that really good looking, because if it's that much more expensive, you're expecting it to be really good looking. So, like, if you have a really good skin of Moira and it looks sick as hell, you'd be tempted to buy it if all you do is play Overwatch. So, as much as Will Ball can say, fuck no, I could see someone who's really into Overwatch saying, yeah, that's worth the investment. Sure.
Yeah. And in this particular thread about the Overwatch survey, some of the other example pricing that was being spitballed was the legendary skin bundle, which would include a weapon charm, a player icon, a victory pose, a voice line, a name card, and then a graffiti spray. There was a question saying, hey, for a legendary skin bundle, would you pay the price of $29.99? And then there was a follow-up question saying, okay, well, what about just the legendary skin alone at the price of $24.99?
Mm-hmm.
And then something called a emote highlight intro souvenir for $20, and then a weapon charm being priced at $10.
Okay.
And then a bundle of 3 graffiti sprays for $5.
Huh. Okay, so basically the survey is just to gauge basically what the user base feels about their current pricing that they're coming up with their skins. Because this is going to be the way they're going to be making money off the game. So they need to make sure that they have the pricing just right to where, let's say, I don't know, a certain percentage is okay with spending that amount of money. Look, like I said before, me and you, who don't play Overwatch religiously, are going to look at it and say, hell no, I'm not paying $45 for a skin. But we're not the target audience here. The target audience are people who are still playing Overwatch, who are excited for Overwatch 2, will play Overwatch 2, will constantly play Overwatch 2, and will basically invest their time and money into that game. So, yeah, even if, and here's the rub here, a lot of you, and rightly so, are going to say $45 is ridiculous for a skin. But if, I don't know, 5% of the people that are polled said they're okay with it, the skin's going to be $45.
Yeah, and this is where things get a little bit interesting. So, somebody on Reddit had posted that they also got this Overwatch pricing survey, and it seems like whoever gets the survey is being offered random prices to give feedback on. So, in this one person's particular example, they got asked a question of how would you feel about a mythic skin being priced at the price of $14.99 rather than the price of $44.99? And then another question was, would you be willing to purchase an epic grade skin for $4.99? And then another question that they got from this random pool was, how would you feel about an emote being priced at $1.99?
Okay. Let's the emotes and stuff. I don't care. Like, whatever. Like, sure. If the emote's cool, I can see someone spending $2 on it. Who cares? Fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you do a survey that randomizes the amount of money for a specific item? That is stupid, because the point of a survey is essentially to get enough data to show if the one idea or one question that you have, what is the sound response to that question. It's like polling. Like, okay. Polling places don't ask a question for one group and then ask a question to another group that's completely different from the preceding question. They want to know what people think of that specific question and what their answer is. And that is essentially what the surveys are supposed to be for. They're supposed to get information to where you have an idea of what you want. Is this a good idea or not? Would you engage with that? If people are starting to realize that, wait a minute, so I don't have to pay $45 for the epic skin, the mythic skin. You're offering $15. Well, no, I'm not going to pay $45. I'll pay $15. That's ridiculous. Because once you give them the option of, hey, actually, how about 15? Is that okay? Or no, you don't have 45. How about 15? How about 25? They're going to go for the lowest price. Like, by essentially doing that, I mean, you essentially just ruined your whole poll and your whole survey, because now people are going to know that, oh, they're going to offer less anyway. So obviously not. I'm not going to be okay with paying $45 for a skin. And some of you are going to probably say, hey, it's a survey. You know, the people who are on it were not supposed to talk about it. It's supposed to be a private thing, so you weren't really supposed to know. People talk all the time about these surveys. It's kind of, they say they don't want you to talk about the stuff in the survey, but if there's something interesting in the survey, people are going to share it because they're not legally obligated to listen to who's doing the survey. Because unless they sign an NDA or something, there's nothing legally a company can do. See, the tactic of randomizing the amount of money for that specific skin, I think, is so counterintuitive. Because now that people know, they're going to say, I'm not going to pay anything more than $15.
Yeah, and I mean, just if they had a consistent survey, then at least they could get a bell curve. They could go, okay, so for this question where we're asking if people would be willing to pay $45 for a a mythic grade skin, we're getting a bunch of no's. We're getting some not reallys, and then you've got maybe a handful of people kind of on the fence, and then you've got like another small handful who are just like, hell yes, I will drop that amount of cash so quick.
Yeah.
So I mean that's where just it makes more sense to just have a 100% consistent survey throughout. But yeah, now that people have essentially spoiled the question pool, yeah, you're just going to have anyone who gets that survey question of, hey, how would you feel about a mythic skin for a whopping $45? Yeah, they're just going to flat out say hell no, and it's going to really screw up their samples, especially now that the cat's out of the bag of, hey, so how about $15 for a mythic? Everyone's just going to go, hell yes, that's exactly the price I want.
Yeah, so like even if let's say someone did the survey and they said yes to the 45, then they go to Twitter and they say, oh wait, there's people getting $15? Fuck that. Then they go on the Twitter and say, yeah, I said 45, but I want 15 instead. Now your entire base now the entire answer is useless, because now you've just essentially said, like, to the customer, oh, the only reason why it's $45 is because we're greedy as fuck, and we know you're gonna pay for it if you didn't know any better. So yeah, that's and when you let that out of the bag, you're essentially gonna get people who are gonna resent you for doing it. So basically, the survey pretty much says for them to make a profit, 15, I think, is really the least they need to do in order to make a profit on that skin. And 45 was just taking the piss, apparently. So, yeah, like that's a terrible idea, man.
Yeah, a real head scratcher on why they would do that. But
yeah, like that's an awful idea. And then you know what's going to end up happening, Zero? Okay, you're going to have $15 for mythic skins, and then there's going to be epic mythic skins, and those are going to be $45. Like, I could see that happening because they screwed this up so bad. But anyway, anything more to add on that?
A bit of a tit for tat between rumors and Google. So last week, the guy who runs the site Killed by Google got supposedly some insider information that Stadia is going to be killed by end of this year. And basically just it'll be the source that they heard from said that it would be sort of a real quiet sort of process, and then once it gets to the either 3-month or 1-month mark, Google's going to make a big announcement saying, all right, we're done. Stadia is no longer going to be about video games. It's just going to be a technology that we're going to be using for commercial use, and that's going to be it. And no further. They got no further information on just sort of an exit plan for anyone who invested a lot of money into buying games on Stadia or anything. So that was the rumor, and of course it got a lot of people talking because a bunch of folks were just like, okay, well, you know, this sounds kind of plausible because Google has said that they're going to be scaling back on Stadia and focus on some of the more commercial uses for making essentially remote computers on the commercial side to market to enterprise customers who want to make essentially virtual computers for people who work from home, so that way a company no longer has to issue work issue laptops and things of that sort. So a lot of people had sort of basically said, yeah, you know, just this sounds pretty plausible. Just Google kills things that doesn't perform the way they want them to, and Stadia hasn't been performing well, so probably likely that it's gonna be killed like this rumor states.
Yeah.
And then naturally, as all things go, Google later last week had basically come out and refuted it, going, no, Stadia's totally not dead. It's all right. We've been quiet, but we've got more things to announce later, and we assure you everything's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just talk real quick. Zero, do you think Stadia is going to die at the end of the year?
I would still be in the camp that it's plausible.
Yeah.
Especially with Google earlier this year saying that they're going to focus on the commercial applications of Stadia's technology, especially for things like working with publishers directly to provide essentially a demo in your browser. So for anyone who wants to try out a game before they can buy it, they can go out to the store and buy it instead of just having to download a demo on, say, their PlayStation or Xbox, or find out that the game just doesn't have a demo at all on the Steam store or something like that. That essentially publishers could just license the technology and just sort of drop a demo build on Stadia and then just tell the user, hey, please connect your Xbox or PlayStation controller to have the best experience, or hey, you can use your keyboard and mouse to control this demo instance of a game within your browser. So, in my opinion, I think it's definitely plausible that Stadia is probably going to be on its way out.
I agree with you. I think that, yeah, essentially Stadia's done. They're not getting new games. They stopped making new games for it at this point. They've also, I think, publishers that were supposed to be exclusive to Stadia have now been released from their contracts at this point and are now allowed to put their games that were exclusive to Stadia onto other consoles and onto PC.
And Jade Raymond's studio, which was under Google Stadia branding, they disbanded and reformed under PlayStation now because PlayStation bought all the talent up and everything.
Right. So, yeah, all signs point to this thing dying. Maybe not this year, maybe more likely next year, but it is a dead service at this point. I don't know many, if any at all, that are using Stadia, to be completely honest with you. But, yeah.
I think really the bigger question is going to be what happens when Google decides to pull the plug. Because I don't really think it's a question of if Google will pull the plug. I think at this point the question will be when they pull the plug.
Right, because Google has the reputation of doing multi-million-dollar R&D products, like Google Glass, for example, and then suddenly killing it for either little or no apparent reason whatsoever. And Google Glass was one. What are others? The account killed by Google exists. Okay, so if there's a popular site that says killed by Google, and that exists, you know that there is and it shows up in the search engine. Okay, wow. Killed by Google. Conversational actions.
I think one that everyone got real angry was over Google Inbox, because it was basically a more intelligent version of Gmail that basically was able to filter emails out according to what they were. So instead of just your email just kind of being flooded with just a random bunch of emails, it would separate stuff intelligently. So anything that looked like a newsletter or a mailing list email, it would be filtered to the mailing list pile, and so on and so forth. And that one was beloved by all, and then all of a sudden Google pulled the plug on it. They're like, nope, Inbox is dead, so sorry about that, but we don't see any reason to keep on going with Inbox. And I just remember a bunch of people getting very pissed about that one.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the programs and features that they had, and it's a long website. Holy shit. So, yeah, they are infamous for doing this, especially even if you put a lot of money into it. You have it sold really well. They essentially just say, we're kind of done with it. Goodbye. Done. And that's it. So, yeah, I tend to believe that this is possible, even though Google is saying it's not. I mean, this is... What was the topic last week that we talked? Oh, Ubisoft from last week, where we talked about how they saved face by saying that Roller Champions is not being canceled, where we kind of get the feeling that with the lack of sales and lack of people playing it, it probably will die. And I think that's kind of what's happening with Stadia at this point. Like the person who ran Stadia is gone now, I think. And yeah, like nothing in its future makes it seem like it's going to be a thriving platform, especially if they're going the commercial side at this point and trying to stray away from games. Maybe Stadia will continue to exist, but as that commercial platform, and people who have Stadia accounts for gaming will continue to access their Stadia games, I guess, from that point on, but there's going to be no updates. Maybe there's no new games, things like that. So on the one hand, you don't have the people who are going to complain that they can't access their games any longer, which would then mean that either Google will have to take a PR hit or have to spend money to get keys for these players who bought these games. Or, I think Google as we know it is done at this point. Like, it wasn't... I don't think it was even that successful, really. So, I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. So my feeling of Stadia, and I think that's going to be the feeling of everybody at this point, is it's done. It's dying. It's going to be shut down, and maybe technically it won't be because they'll just repackage Stadia as a commercial thing. But like the gaming part, I think is over now. Like I think that's done.
Yeah, and I think so too. And just really, I think on top of just the business kind of being weird, there was also the fact that sales were very, very rare on Stadia.
Yes.
And that doesn't really help with adoption either, because a lot of people a lot of people are still gun shy of just going with an all digital future and just knowing that, hey, if a platform literally collapses tomorrow, that their games are just going to evaporate.
Yeah.
And I think that really didn't help Stadia's image issues, because of the fact that just a lot of people just see that and they're just like, so let me get this straight. If I want the premium version of Destiny 2 on Stadia, I'm going to have to pay $100. And if y'all close up tomorrow, my copy of Destiny evaporates? Hell no.
Yeah.
No way. Not a chance.
Yeah. I mean, Destiny's a weird one too, because I think you can link that account to other platforms, but you'd still have to purchase Destiny 2 and its expansions in order to play it on a different platform. So, yeah, like you're technically the stuff that you did is saved, but that means you would have to repurchase Destiny 2 somewhere else and their expansions in order to play it. So I will note that, but what you're saying is sound. Yeah, like there's really not much more to say about this, really. I think at this point okay. I think if I were running Google, I would look at Stadia and go, what are we doing with this? And if we're going to go the commercial route, then let's rip the Band-Aid off and get rid of all the gaming stuff, get rid of the gaming marketplace, and either come up with options where they can still access their games, or, if I want to not get the PR hit, give them codes to whatever platform they have that they decide on and take their games there. So that would be my thing. What they will end up probably doing is just saying, yeah, you're fucked. Oh, well. So,
yeah.
But,
so,
yeah.
Just it'll be interesting to see how this sort of falls into place. Whether or not Google just sucks it up and just says, hey, we're going to do the right thing. We're going to make sure you're taken care of, and we're going to make sure that you get keys for whichever game you bought, and we're going to make sure that on top of that, you don't have to worry that your progress is going to be pretty much lost to the wind and everything. Since I think that would be another pain point I could see from some people just getting really angry about just going, so let me get this straight. I'm gonna lose all my progress because this game is trapped on fucking Stadia.
Yep.
God, no.
Yeah, well. And some of you are going to be like, well, we all warned them that this was going to be a possibility. Yeah, true. It's true. A lot of people warned people who were going into Stadia that this was definitely a possibility of happening. But that doesn't also mean that their purchases shouldn't be honored and shouldn't have a life past, let's say, Stadia dying. So, yeah, I think by at the latest year end next year, the gaming side of Stadia will be done. And would I be surprised if it's the end of this year? No. But I think possibly middle of next year, end of next year is when it officially is over, with the gaming side at least. Let us move on to the next topic. We still don't know whether the U.S. government will allow Microsoft to purchase Activision Blizzard. Signs are looking like it's going to happen. But that hasn't stopped some people, well, mostly Sony fanboys, from complaining about the business practice of a company acquiring another company to make their products exclusive to that platform. Well, someone else is complaining about this, and that's actually Sony themselves. Sony was in talks with, let's say, was it a Brazilian? Hold on.
It's the Brazilian equivalent of the SEC.
Okay. So they were talking to, I guess, a Brazilian government entity about the possibility of monopolistic tendencies if this sale would go through. And basically, Sony said it believes Xbox owning Call of Duty could influence users' console choice just with Call of Duty alone. Some have balked at this and basically said, oh, well, I mean, you had the chance to do it and you didn't. Others are pointing out, yeah, that's true. It's definitely a possibility. And maybe that the sale should not happen. Zero, what do you feel about Sony's comments about COD going to Xbox and possibly exclusive for the near future?
It's interesting because I know Phil Spencer has gone pretty much on sort of a PR message spread, basically saying, "Hey, I know a lot of you worldwide are wondering if we purchase Activision Blizzard, what will happen with Call of Duty. We assure you, it's going to remain multi-platform because there's just no sense in just completely isolating it to the Xbox ecosystem."
Wait, did he say that specifically, or did he say that he's going to honor all contracts?
I believe it was both. Just
okay.
It was early. I think the original statement that he initially made during the talk of the sale was, "We're going to honor all contracts." But then more and more people got a bit vocal, saying, "Hey, well, that's great that you're going to honor all contracts, but what does that mean for the future of Call of Duty in general?" And okay. I believe he said something to the tune of, "Yeah, we're still going to keep it multi-platform because there's no purpose in just completely isolating it." Now, that said and done, the bigger question is, what does that mean for the competitive platform for Call of Duty? Mm-hmm. Because the big thing that Call of Duty is known for is really the tournament series that they've got. And for the last several years, the tournament platform of choice has always been PlayStation. So the big question is going to be, when this purchase completes, does that mean that pretty much Microsoft will just kind of take their ball and go and say, well, sorry, PlayStation, you're technically a competing platform, so the Call of Duty World Championship Series is going to be on Xbox only. So if you're in the competitive circuit, you need to buy an Xbox Series X, and you need to buy it today.
Unless it's part of the contract that it has to be on PlayStation, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to say that specifically will be on Xbox consoles, period. Like, I can't foresee them saying, oh, yeah, we'll keep it on PlayStation. No, they're going to put it on Xbox. And, yeah, like, those of you who are like, oh, they can't make it exclusive to Xbox, yeah, they can. And unless Sony gives them fantastic terms, they will. I mean, here's my opinion on this, okay? Yeah, technically, Call of Duty will be multi-platform. Call of Duty Warzone will be multi-platform. The Call of Duty mainline series, like the Vanguards, the Black Ops, they'll be exclusive to Xbox, okay? And by either one of two ways. Either the Call of Duty games will be on Game Pass, and that's $15 a month, of course. And gamers are just going to look at that and go, wait a minute, why would I pay $70 for each get Call of Duty when I can just go to Xbox, pay $15 a month, play the hell out of it there? What? That's just silly. Why don't I just go to Xbox? And if that starts happening, and then the sales from, let's say, the PlayStation starts to drop because everyone's going on Game Pass to play it, then Microsoft's going to look at that and go, well, we have no one playing on PlayStation. Or the cost to keep it on PlayStation is just not feasible for us. So either Sony will have to subsidize the PlayStation version of Call of Duty, or pretty much, or give them better business terms, which means they'll have to give Microsoft a bigger cut of the profits of Call of Duty, or Microsoft just basically says, we're not doing Call of Duty on PlayStation anymore. It's just not business-wise, it's not feasible. And we can better innovate the game if we keep it on our platform. Like, I could see that happening easily. And for those of you who are like, oh, they wouldn't do that, that would be stupid, they would lose all those sales. They don't care. All they care about is whether they get more people on Game Pass and more people buying their console. That's the point of being of a game console maker. The game sales are nice. Like, yeah, okay, cool. But the console sales are what matters. And if more people are going to be told that you can get Call of Duty cheaper on our console, they're going to go for the cheaper console. It's that simple. Like, for those, and I know some of you are going to be like, well, people want to have the hard disks. The game's barely on the disc. The game, you still have to download, 80 gigs? But when you get the disc, that's essentially the whole game. All you're getting with a disc is a coaster with the key in it. That's all you're getting. And once people start realizing that, they're going to not care so much about the hard disk and just say, well, then screw it. I'll just get it on digital. And if I get it on digital, then I might as well get Game Pass because it's $15 a month and I just get all these games. So why spend $70, $80, $90 on the game on one console when you go to the other and get it for $15?
Yeah, and I was going to say, one thing I could definitely see coming back is the return of the platform exclusivity stuff. So stuff get early access 5 days early or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. And that's not going to be for pre-orders. That'll be people who are on Game Pass. Like, if you're on Game Pass, you have a 5-day window where you can play the beta.
Yeah, I can definitely see stuff like that being the norm again. Just the platform exclusivity stuff. Hey, get beta access super duper early and all that sort of mess. So I can see a return to that happening. Is it a hey, this is exclusive to Xbox only thing? No, it's not. But I could easily see something to the tune of, hey, by the way, do you want sweet access into the game like 4 weeks earlier than everyone else? Then yeah, you're gonna wanna buy it on Xbox, or you're gonna want to get it on Game Pass.
Yeah, and that'll be ridiculous for this 4 weeks. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Even if it's like 3 days, like the game I play all the time, MLB The Show. I mean, there are literally like tiers of purchases of the game where you get the game 4 days early, and that's the feature. Like to get like the $100 version, you get the games 4 days early, and people buy it because they want to play the game 4 days early. I mean, you can do that easily. That and Xbox. I mean, Microsoft can just placate Sony as, okay, you'll get an exclusive too. Here's this cool Sony skin for the M150 or whatever gun there is, and there's your console exclusive. Buy and go from there. I mean, there's no incentive once this goes through for Microsoft to be like to not keep it. I mean, and I know, like I said, some of you will say, but they'll lose all these sales. Doesn't really matter. Like, if that gets more people into their ecosystem, more people are going to buy in their ecosystem when Call of Duty's attached to it. So, yeah, you don't. They'll eat the, I guess, 3 million in sales, 4 million in, well, there's more than that. They'll eat the millions in sales that they would have gotten on PlayStation if it means that they're coming to their ecosystem. Because then once you're in there, they're going to think you're going to buy more games on that ecosystem because you're going to be playing on that system exclusively to play this game. So, yeah, I mean, those of you who think they're not going to do it are kidding yourselves. Like, seriously. I don't understand how people are not looking at this. Like take the emotions out of it completely and just look at it as a cold, hard business decision. You own the biggest property in the world in gaming. You'd have to be a fool not to make it exclusive to a certain extent. Even if, like, let's say your tactic, which is basically make it exclusive, like maybe not make it just the Xbox platform, but make it like they get it a week early on Xbox by Game Pass. How many people are gonna play or are gonna say, like, okay, I get it a week early if I have it on Game Pass, I'll get it on Game Pass. And are a lot of people going to say, okay, I played it a week early on Game Pass, I'm going to go play it on PlayStation? No. They're going to stay on Xbox. They're going to have all their progress on Xbox. And so, yeah, the fact that people are shocked by this and are saying that Microsoft isn't going to do this, that would be stupid, are missing the point entirely. So this will be a quick one, I think, and we'll end up probably making this 30 minutes somehow, but I think this will be quick. Capcom announced the sales of their properties, not of all their properties, but what they call their platinum titles, basically stating that any games that basically do over 1 million sales, 1 million units sales, are considered platinum titles to them. So they basically made an update to their sales projections, and basically it looks like Monster Hunter is not only Monster Hunter is not only probably one of their most beloved franchises, it's also its most lucrative, which is, I guess to some may not be so shocking, but to me it kind of is. It looks as if right now Monster Hunter Rise on both Switch and PC has sold 10.3 million units. And that's an additional 1.3 million since March 31st of 2021. And then Sunbreak itself has sold 2.5 million units, and it has since surpassed 3 million since it was announced on January 30th. What else? Monster Hunter World is their biggest game to date. The sales of Monster Hunter World is 18.3 million units, which is insane to me. Iceborne got 9.5 million units. I mean, I knew that Monster Hunter was big in Japan, at least. I knew that. But I guess the relative popularity of World and then Rise have really boosted the sales of this, Zero. I mean, what do you think of these sales numbers for Monster Hunter and for Capcom on this?
I think Rise, the reason the sales numbers are so solid for Rise is mostly because of the fact that while it is a traditional Monster Hunter at heart, it did take some lessons from Monster Hunter World. So there's a bit of streamlining and simplification, but it's still got the very, very meaty mechanics of a traditional Monster Hunter game. Yeah. And this is great because it lowers the barrier of access down quite low. And I will confess, I have tried to get into Monster Hunter multiple times. I tried...
Same here.
Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, didn't like it. Tried Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, tried it, was into it for a bit, didn't like it, dropped off of it. Everyone hyped up Monster Hunter World. I jumped on it, didn't quite like it, and then as the game went longer and longer, the community for it, at least on PlayStation 4, got really shitty, so completely turned me off from playing Monster Hunter World just forever. I skipped Monster Hunter Generations, even though I was quite curious about it. And then when I saw Rise and saw that Rise is going to be set in sort of a fictional spin-off of feudal Japan, I was just like, okay, I could be in for that. And then Capcom's presentation had said, oh yeah, just Rise is your traditional Monster Hunter game, and of course I had some trepidation about that. I was like, oh, this is going to be Monster Hunter 3 and 4 Ultimate all over again, isn't it? And then of course in the presentation they had also mentioned, oh, but by the way, we're also streamlining it, so this is going to be one of the best Monster Hunter games to get into if you've never played a Monster Hunter. Mm-hmm. And from that point I was like, okay, I'm very interested. Just I'll give it a shot. And yeah, it's just been one of the games that just has me really, really hooked into it, because the gameplay loop is fun, the combat is fun for me, and I'm one of those weirdos who uses the insect glaive. So there's that, and yeah, just when the Sunbreak announcement came out, I was quite excited for that. So just when the limited edition for Sunbreak was available, immediately I jumped on that.
Okay. I, like you, tried to get into Monster Hunter multiple times. It started with Freedom Unite, and because of the whole claw thing with the Vita, I was like, yeah, there's no damn way I'm playing it like this. So forget that. Not the Vita, the PSP. Then I played Try on the Wii, and I thought it was kind of cool, but the systems on it were like so cumbersome. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not really that interested then. And it wasn't until World came out where it clicked, and I just got really deep into it. Now, unlike you, I got really into World, but I played it by myself. I didn't play with others. I just stuck with playing the game by myself as a gun lance. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, even when you're, like, what I used to always do in the game when I was really into it was I would do the expeditions, which are basically you kill lower level monsters to get armor spheres. And I would do that essentially every time I played it. Like, I'd do 2 of those and then do another monster mission. And they were instantly they were so satisfying. Like, the combat and the hunting was so satisfying in the game that I just didn't care that I was playing the same monsters over and over again. Like, I really enjoyed it. So, and then you're right about Rise. they took the best parts of World, made it more accessible, and then made the combat even better with the wire bugs, which was which was actually really good. I'm just really surprised that this game is doing so good in sales that it surpassed a Street Fighter game. Like, I know a lot of people are kind of lukewarm on Street Fighter V, and I get why. But Street Fighter V had 6.6 million copies sold. To the fact that Monster Hunter for God's sakes, man, the expansions did more sales of Monster Hunter than Street Fighter V, one of their biggest and most popular franchises. That is ridiculous. Like, I was so shocked to see that. But is it deserved? Hell yeah. Like, it did fantastically. So, yeah. Like, I think that's just the one thing that shocked me. But I'm happy that it's doing the sales it's doing. It deserves it. It's fantastic. So, yeah, I was shocked when I heard this. But it was definitely deserved. And I'm glad, finally, that this series is getting enough love back here that they're going to put more time into making this game even better. So that's going to be great. I just wish it was a little more accessible. I think we talked about it off here, where I said I think the eating portion is kind of stupid. Or, like, the fact that you have to use certain drugs in order to be more powerful. At that point, like, why do that? Just up the power quotient of the weapons that you're using, and just do that. Why are you saying, oh, well, in order to do this, you have to eat this and take these drugs? I'm like, you just do it. Like, why make it more complex than it needs to be? So I think they have to streamline it a little bit more. But yeah, like, the way it is now is great.
Yeah. Additionally, on the Platinum titles report, the other one that kind of impressed me to a degree was the Resident Evil Village sales over everything. So we're talking PS5, the Xbox Series consoles, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. A grand total of 6.4 million units since release. And then the game sold an additional 300,000 copies from the period of March 31st, 2021 until June 30th of 2022.
Yeah, that is impressive. But what's really impressive is this Biohazard, Resident Evil 7. That did 11 million units. Now, what do you think that is because? Do you think it's because that Village got in between, let's say, that consoles transitioning, and maybe that's why? Or were people too afraid to be stepped on by the main villain? Was that the issue?
I think really part of it is there are probably people who are holding off on playing Resident Evil Village until they get a PS5 or an Xbox Series console.
Okay.
I can certainly confirm that my sister was that way, because she was just like, nope, I'm not going to play Village until I can just get a PS5, sit down, and play that thing start to finish on PS5.
Do you think some are waiting for the VR version?
That's certainly a possibility. The VR version's a little bit of a gimmick. I think the other possibility that could have a bigger influence is the addition of third-person mode arriving with the new Resident Evil Village Gold update that'll be coming sometime in October.
Okay. Okay.
Because I know I have some friends here and there that have said, I want to play Resident Evil Village, but I cannot do the first-person view. The first-person view is just way too stressful for me. Okay. And I get it, because I will concede that I never finished Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, because just the game was just way too tense, and then on top of that, just the game being completely in first-person mode just was a little too tense for me, that I was only able to play the game in just small bursts, and then I got to a point where I was just like, I just can't do it anymore, just this is just way too much stress for me.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I guess there's really not much more to say about this, other than I'm really impressed by the Monster Hunter sales. And I guess the only question I have really, does Monster Hunter stay on Nintendo systems, or are they going to go multi-platform with, I guess, like, are they going to do a new world and do like a really pretty version of Monster Hunter on, let's say, the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5? Or will they keep these games on the Nintendo Switch? Because I gotta be honest with you, I didn't think that I thought the sales were going to be good, but I didn't think it was be this good for Rise. I mean, that's gotta be, and you're spending less money on making it on the Switch, so you gotta expect that you got much more profits off of this than World. So yeah, I mean, is there a possibility that it stays on the Nintendo?
I think so, mostly because the sales are just that good.
Mm-hmm.
And especially from the fact that just, at least in Japan, the mainline Monster Hunter games have always been sort of on a portable-ish platform. Granted, the Wii versions were always a bit of the exception to the rule, but Monster Hunter 3 and Monster Hunter 4, those had versions on the 3DS. And then you have Monster Hunter Generations, which was a Switch launch title. So I think as it stands, it's probably just going to remain on Switch going forward. But that's my personal opinion on it.
I know there was a free-to-play version of Monster Hunter about a decade ago. I think it's called Frontiers, right? What are the odds that they look at this and go, could we make a free-to-play version that, like, I'll word it this way. Could the next version, either not the next one, but the next after, could possibly be a free-to-play Monster Hunter?
That would be an interesting experiment to see, because I believe the previous free-to-play Monster Hunter game was a Chinese market-only one.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And if I remember right, that one took the usual tropes of Chinese free-to-play gaming. So lots of pay-to-win sort of mechanics, but that's what the Chinese market likes, unfortunately. So if they do something like a free-to-play Monster Hunter game, they're going to have to be very, very careful, especially if they're aiming for a global audience, because while a lot of the free-to-play Asian gaming communities have no issue just with paying out the nose for just overpriced power upgrades to let them look swag and everything. Just it's not going to fly with the West as well, because a lot of people will just look at it and go, really? Just I don't know. Let's say hypothetical example of something like you get enough mats to get to a rank 3 weapon right from the get-go or something. Just if it was something like that, and it's just like, oh yeah, enough mats to make a rank 3 weapon, and it's going to cost you like a whopping $30 or something for all the mats to do that.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot of Western players just look at that and balk and just go, hell no, I'm not spending $30 on stuff that I can just be free to play trash and just slowly earn over time, because yeah, that's fucking crazy talk. Get your head out of your ass, Capcom.
Yeah. I think the route they will go, my opinion, honestly, is that instead of, let's say, your method of basically saying in order to get the mats, you either have to slowly grind away to get them, or you could pay money. I think what they'll do is instead of saying, I'm going to go fight this monster, instead, what they'll do is, okay, choose which location you're going to be, and then 3 random monsters will show up in that location. I think that is what they'll do. And then you would have to, let's say, purchase tokens to get better odds or guaranteed odds on a certain monster spawning. I think that is what they'll do.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see something like that, at least with with the lens of like a cold business executive making that kind of decision. Just nothing like selling guaranteed hunt tokens or something like that.
Right. And I'm only thinking of that because of Diablo Immortal. So
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, fantastic. I can't wait for more Monster Hunter, and that's great that it's gotten the sales it's gotten. It's deserved. So there we go. All right, Zero. So those are the end of the news segments. That means we're about done for this podcast. But with that, I have a question for you.
Actually, no. I have a question for you.
No. Bastard. You're taking over this podcast, and I don't appreciate it. Go ahead. What's your question?
Well, this one's kind of more on a hardware bent because I know the last couple questions have been more on the software side. So, for context, I ended up picking up a new mechanical keyboard for my work office area because I didn't quite like the keyboard that they sent me and everything. And it's a nicer keyboard, mostly because of just my preference in typing and everything. But the keyboard is a Keychron K10 with Gatron blue switches, which are knockoffs of Cherry MX switches. So for anyone who needs a reference of what that sort of feels like, if you're not familiar with mechanical keyboards, this one has sort of a old school clicky feel, kind of like an old typewriter, but more similar to the original IBM Model M keyboards from like the early to mid 90s, back when computers were slowly starting to come into classrooms all around the world and everything. So just very, very chunky clicks when you hit on these buttons and everything. And it just kind of sort of inspired this question that I wanted to ask Wiz. So, for keyboards, what is your preference, membrane or mechanical keyboards?
Mechanical. I dealt with membrane all my life, and I was always comfortable with that, whether I went to work or when I had one of my family had computers, when I had started having computers of my own, I always had membrane, and they were fine. But when I got this new computer that I bought I would say 4 or 5 years ago, I made sure I got a mechanical keyboard, and I love this thing, dude. Like, it feels so good, like typing on this and hearing the clacks and stuff when I'm using it. Like, it's so satisfying. And I got the Corsair K95 RGB Platinum, so, and that's an expensive keyboard, so it better be good, and it was. So yeah, with this is my favorite keyboard by far. Like, I love this thing. I do have to clean it though; it looks pretty disgusting. But yeah.
Yeah. And I assume it's probably got something like Cherry MX Blues or something in it.
Cherry MX Speeds.
Okay.
Yeah. The only issue I have with it is that sometimes the keys just pop out, but that's also because I'm a hard typer. So sometimes I'm like if I'm writing, when I used to write articles, way back when, I would like get really in the zone and start writing, and then boop, there goes the L key. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, God.
So that kind of happened because there's a lot of space between the switch and the keystroke. The key itself is kind of small, so when there's that much air, I guess, when you press it and you press hard enough, it kind of just pops out on its own. So,
jeez.
I had to really type really hard to do that. That's more of a me thing than I think a problem with the keyboard. But I definitely like the keyboard that I have. Like, I'm so satisfied with it. I probably would go 10 keyless next time though. But I definitely I love the fact that I have this keyboard. It's awesome. What about you?
Me, just, I'm definitely more of a mechanical person. I've definitely been more on sort of the clicky switch side of things. My gaming laptop, I have a Logitech 910 Orion plugged up to it, which that uses Logitech's proprietary Roamer G switches, which they're nice and clicky. They're okay, but they're a little mushy and sloppy. So, I mean, it's plenty serviceable for games and stuff like that, but for the long while that I've had that, it's always sort of had me sort of desiring more, just especially with everyone sort of holding the Cherry MX switches as like the gold standard, the one switch to beat. And then, of course, you've got all these Switch manufacturers that are just sort of coming out from China to sort of compete in the market. Like, you've got Kale, who I believe they're the exclusive manufacturer for the Razer switches.
Mm-hmm.
So Kale makes their own in-house switches, and they also help Razer manufacture their switches. And then Gatron, they are another Cherry MX style competitor. So there's just like this giant world of just all sorts of mechanical switches that you can buy and everything. And I think even the social shopping company Drop has their own set of mechanical switches that they're partnered with a manufacturer to make as well too.
Yeah.
So for me, I've always had a preference towards a very clicky switch, kind of like a Cherry MX Blue, and the work keyboard, or rather the office keyboard that I got, the Keychron K10. It has the Gatron G Pro Blues, which are very similar to the Cherry MX Blues, and it's just an absolute pleasure to type on. And it's kind of funny too, because I love the keyboard so much. I ended up just deciding to get a second one, but instead the second one has Gatron G Pro Reds in it, which are the equivalent of the Cherry MX Reds. So a much more smoother linear action. There's no hard tactile click, and they're very smooth. And for me, I would compare those, at least for any arcade stick jockeys out there, they would be kind of like the Sanwa buttons, just very smooth actuation, very quick actuation. So excellent for gaming, but they are not ideal for typing, because when I'm on that keyboard to do gaming stuff, like on my TV and in my media room and everything, I make so many typos on that keyboard.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta be honest. When I game on a PC, I don't use the keyboard. I always use a gamepad. I know people are gonna think that's crazy, but I've tried since I've gotten this keyboard to do gaming on it, and when I play first-person shooters, I have a horrible time. Like, it just is not comfortable with me whatsoever, so I use a gamepad. The only time I use the keyboard on gaming is things like Diablo or like stuff like that. Like action RPGs, I can do that just fine. But yeah, when it comes to typing, like, I prefer the mechanical, and I prefer, like, because just the way that this keyboard is so smooth when I type. Because I remember when I used the membrane ones, especially like in a cheap $10 or $20 keyboard, either like the keys are too chunky, so then I would press a key, and then maybe the other key also gets pressed, maybe because I have big fingers, I don't know. Or I'm going too fast and I'm not as accurate as I used to be. That's a possibility. But I don't have that issue with my keyboard. So, yeah, like, I definitely prefer this mechanical keyboard now. Like, I love it. I absolutely love it. And the only thing I think I regret, because this is an expensive keyboard. I probably wouldn't get one with macros or RGB, or maybe I would not get a 10 keyless. I would still get a mechanical keyboard, but I would probably get a smaller keyboard next time, because this thing is honking huge, dude. Like, it is like massive, and
Yeah,
I still
I've
like it.
seen pictures of it online, and yeah, I definitely know how massive it is, because I know my Logitech 910 Orion, that thing is chunk.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I gotta say, even though it's expensive, I think the price was well worth it for me. Like I look back, I look at it now at the price. It's $200 to purchase it, and I'm still completely satisfied with it. Like I love it. So I know
Yeah.
I know some people. I know some people like to build their own keyboards.
Oh yeah, especially with being able to buy your own chassis and stuff like that. Because like my work keyboard and the keyboard that I use to game on my media room and everything, they're made by Keychron, and Keychron, they actually do offer bare bones chassis kits. So if you want to use your own keycaps, you want to use your own choice of keyboard switches, you can totally, absolutely go nuts with it. And it's kind of cool for people who want to do that. But yeah, that's real intense stuff, and that kind of gets into its own sort of uniqueness and everything. Which kind of leads into sort of my final question is,
Okay.
are there any particular keyboards you aspire to, or is there like a dream keyboard out there that you're just like, yeah, I want to get one of those later down the line or something?
I gotta tell you, dude, this keyboard was it. Like this keyboard was the one where I looked at it and go, I want this. Like, and I had a good amount of money when I was making my PC, and I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna bling out, like I'm gonna bling out. So I got this keyboard. This was the dream keyboard. I wanted it. I bought it. I loved it, and I'm so glad I did. I think what may surprise some people, excuse me, is that I kind of cheaped out on the mouse. I had a Razer Blackadder, but it was a wired mouse, and I liked it. But I just preferred having a mouse that was not wired. So, because I kept getting stuck, and that became kind of an issue when playing certain games. So I prefer to have the mouse that maybe isn't as feature rich as the Blackadder, but is just functional enough. So I got like a cheap $20 like mouse that is what are they called, cordless. So
Yeah.
I was fine with that so like the mouse. If you would look at my desk, the mouse is a cheap mouse, and I'm fine with it. But the keyboard is super expensive, and I'm thoroughly satisfied. So, I honestly haven't looked at other keyboards since, to be completely honest. So, excuse me. Could there be better ones? Sure. But if I have to replace my keyboard next time, I would get a less expensive keyboard, a smaller keyboard with less macros. Maybe I'd go 10 keyless and go that route and just make it more compact and be fine with that. So, yeah. You?
For me, I'm kind of torn because for my office area, I would love to at some point maybe get something nice and colorful for my office area. So the Keychron Q6 is sort of something I've got my eye on, and mostly in the blue configuration because it's just so blue, but it's also got RGB and everything, and it plays nicely both with Mac and Windows. So when I plug in my MacBook and stuff, I'll be able to use it without any issue for any of the Mac macros and stuff like that, like the volume up and whatever's. But as far as my gaming PC, I would love to try to pick up a Taiwanese-made Ducky 1 version 3 keyboard, mostly because those tend to be sort of the cream of the crop for just well-built PC gaming keyboards, because they use Cherry MX switches in them, and you can get them with pretty much whatever switch you prefer. So if you like extremely clicky, then you can get these keyboards with Cherry MX greens in them, which are even more clickier than the Cherry MX blues. Or if you want something that's sort of a mid-range, then you can get it equipped with Cherry MX Browns. And then if you just kind of want smooth, quick, linear motions, then you can get them equipped with Cherry MX Reds and everything. So would love to get one of the Ducky ones. I think they're priced at about $150. And
your Keychron Q6 is about $200.
Oh yes.
Okay.
It's definitely a nice the Keychron Q6 is a nice sort of professional style keyboard. So I mean, it's a little bit pricey for sort of kind of professional use, but the Q6 also has like a little knob that you can use stuff like QMK or VIA to customize what the knob does. So if you're doing a lot of audio work, then you can set a macro for the little knob that's on the keyboard to do something like scroll through the entire audio of a clip that you're working on. Or if you're working in Photoshop, you can turn it into a zoom button and just make it so when you spin it one way it zooms in, and then spin it another way it zooms out. So super cool keyboard, but yeah, that would definitely be more for working purposes.
Okay. All right. If you have a question for Zero and I, you can do one of two things. You can email us at zerowizcast@gmail.com, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment on the bottom of on the comment section and ask us a question that we may actually use in a video in the future. So, of course, if you have comments or questions, go ahead and put that on the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. But on that note, that is the end of this podcast for the Capital Games Podcast. Tune in next week where we talk about the going-ons and happenings in the business and culture of video games. I am The Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
And we'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.